Hey guys, Dervy here, and in this video I'm going to be covering a very quick little guide on basic Dragoon rotations. Now I do understand that there are many different views on how to play the Dragoon, the different rotations of the Dragoon, and how to actually play the class. The way I play the class might be different from how other people might play the class or how you might play the class, and of course there are going to be a lot of conflicting differences and arguments about how to play the Dragoon. So what I recommend is this. I'm going to make the video right now discussing how I play the Dragoon and how I like to use my rotations, and then in the comment box below all of you other Dragoons can then start having a nice little discussion on how you guys play the Dragoon, and then I'll take some of the best comments in the video or the most interesting ideas of how to play the Dragoon, and I'll further make a continuing series of how to basically use the Dragoon to its fullest over a long period of videos. Now this may be 10 videos or maybe even 2 videos, but what I really want to do is build up a nice lengthy series of Dragoon rotations, Dragoon basics, Dragoon gearing, and all these other things. So I'm going to quickly get started with how I play the Dragoon. So I have my set, well, my layout weirded a bit differently than most people. I have majority of my damaging buffs directly in the middle. I then have my normal true thrust rotation at the bottom. Then I have my impulse chaos thrust rotation at the top. Now, what I like to do when I play the Dragoon, depending on the type of fight, is to, well, use my chaos thrust rotation. But many people are like, well, it's a chaos thrust rotation, it's only a dot, you only have to attack from behind the target, which is kind of a pain in the ass when you are fighting some mobs that always use tail attacks from behind, and the disembowel 10% piercing resistance isn't really that good. But you are completely wrong for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to show you why. So first of all, I'm going to do a very quick rotation. I'm going to go to heavy thrust and use internal release, blood for blood, and I'm going to do the true thrust rotation with leg sweep in between, and I'm going to life surge my full thrust, so my full thrust is a crit. So like so. $848 crit. 848 crit, which is pretty high, considering I am pretty much geared in nearly full dark light, plus I have the relic weapon, the Gibog. But supposing I now use my disembowel, how much more damage would I do with my disembowel? So this time, let's do the exact same rotation, but we're going to use disembowel. So I'm going to run up to it from behind, impulse drive, that's how you start the combo, disembowel, heavy strike from the flank or the side, then we're going to use internal release, blood for blood, life surge, 917, and the last one was about 860. Do you see how much of a damage difference that is? Now that isn't because I'm now hitting higher in the damage range, no, it is all because of the piercing resistance. That 10% piercing resistance really helps a lot. As you can see, it nearly boosted my damage up by about 50, and I have actually hit crits for about 660 before, when I'm trying to, reach the higher side of the damage spectrum. So disembowel really is something that all Dragoons must use. The chaos thrust rotation is really powerful, and many people like to underrate it, and I don't know why. So now that I've shown you guys how powerful disembowel really can be if used correctly, I'm going to show you guys how you use your jumps. Now, your jumps are all instant abilities, just like your leg sweep or your foresight, and they do not use any TP, exactly like a leg sweep. and the foresight. This means that you can cast these attacks and these abilities in between your rotations, in between your combos, and not disrupt them. So like I'm going to show you right here, I'm going to go to True Thrust, Vorpal Thrust, then I'm going to jump, and then I'm still going to get the full benefit of the full thrust combo, like this. So heavy thrust first, because I always like to do that. You see that? Can you see that? 4-4-6, which means I could cast the jump and not interrupt my full thrust. Now I'm going to show you again, this time with leg sweep. So, Tree Thrust, Vorpal Thrust, leg sweep. As you can see, look, the combo marker is still on that. So these instant cast abilities that you can use, like your jump, Spine Shatter Drive, Dragonfire Dive, and leg sweep, you can use them in between your rotations and not interrupt them whatsoever. So now you might maybe thinking to yourself, well, okay, fair enough, I can use them in between my rotation. How do I use them effectively? How do I use them properly? Well, the first thing you have to remember, we also have a skill called Power Surge. Power Surge is a 10-second duration skill, and it doubles, it multiplies our jump abilities, which are the jump and the Spine Shatter Drive, not Dragonfire Dive, please take note of that, not Dragonfire Dive, by 1.5%. So in other words, this jump here, which is 200 potency, would actually be a 300 potency skill, which is exactly the same as the full thrust at the end of a full combo. So now let's use this properly. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to go True Thrust, Power Surge, because remember I can use that in between my rotation. I'm going to go Vorpal Thrust, Jump, Full Thrust, Spine Shatter Drive, and if I wanted to, I could finish it off with a Dragonfire Dive. So let's get started. Heavy. As you can see there, I was hitting every single time. There wasn't a single moment during that entire burst that I wasn't dealing any damage. I was never attacking and then waiting for my global cooldown to go and then attacking. I was always doing something in between my rotation, which is very, very important. Alternatively, you can also use the Power Surge at the beginning, because remember this is 10 seconds, which means you can use 4 global cooldown abilities before the Power Surge runs up. Bloody Guild Sellers. B-list add. Bye bye. Anyway, you can use these in between your jump rotations. So you can use these skills in between your full thrust rotation. And now I'm going to talk about how to properly use your dots and why you should always use heavy thrust at the beginning of your combo. Now using your dots is pretty much just like your standard rotation. You start off with the impulse drive to go into the chaos thrust, and then you go to fracture. However, fracture has a potency of 100, whereas phlebotomize has a potency of 170. So I always use fracture last, and that's why I've positioned it here, because I'll be using phlebotomize more than my fracture, and it'll be easier for me to get to with my mouse, because unfortunately I'm a semi-clicker. So we're going to go heavy thrust first, and the reason for this is because, well, the heavy thrust affects your dots, and it also affects the potency, and it also affects your auto attack. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the dots after this, after I talked about the rotation. So we're going to go heavy thrust, we're going to go straight in for impulse drive, disembowel, chaos thrust, phlebotomize, and fracture. Now that took about 10 seconds of our time to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills. 5 skills within 10 seconds, which isn't really that bad if I'm honest with you, considering the fact I wasn't really making sure I was hitting the skills dead on. I could have maybe got it to 11. Now the reason why you put your Chaos Thrust first, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to put on a Fracture first. We can see how much it ticks for. As you can see, it's ticking for 27, 26, 36, which is a crit, 27, 26. So we can say we're critting for an average of about 26 and a half, 26, around about 26. But what happens now if we use a Heavy Thrust, then a Fracture? Let's see how much our dots tick for now. 29, 28, 28. So, as you can see, the Heavy Thrust affects your dots. Now then, the actual Heavy Thrust duration of 20 seconds is actually very, very crucial and very, very important in case you don't know. Because of a duration of 20 seconds, along with a global cooldown of 2.5 seconds, it means you can use 8 global cooldown abilities in the time that the Heavy Thrust buff wears out. So if you're using all of your instant skills appropriately and you're using them effectively, you could potentially do your dots along with your True Thrust rotation with a Life Surge within the space of a Heavy Thrust. But I'm going to show you why this isn't advised and why this is extremely, and I mean very, very risky. So for this dummy again, I'm going to go straight in. Now as you can see just there, I crit for 945, meaning the Heavy Thrust buff lasted me all the way until the end of the Full Thrust rotation. But it didn't allow me any chance to use my jumps whatsoever. The rotation I just showed you is a very good rotation that you can use as long as you're accurate with your timing of your skills to use when your Power Surge and your jumps are no longer available. But if I want to use my jumps to maximize my burst, how am I going to do it? Because obviously I want my Heavy Thrust buff, which is 20 seconds, to last through all of my jumps and my leg sweep so I can do the maximum amount of damage I can do. So what we're going to do is instead, we're going to use the Heavy Thrust at the beginning of the Impulse Drive Chaos Thrust dot rotation. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to cast it again. So let's get started. So now we're going to go back into the rotation. We're going to use Internal Release and Blood for Blood instantly. And now we can use our leg sweep. We can use Life Surge. And then we can go that. And then we can use a Power Surge. And go straight back into our jump with our Full Thrust rotation. You see that? And we did that within the time of the second Heavy Thrust. And within the time of the Blood for Blood. And that is how you potentially burst out your damage. And that is how you use your rotations to the fullest. Okay, so fair enough, I showed you my entire rotation, I showed you what I usually like to do, but I'm going to show you a few little tricks that I like to do, and monks as well. If you're going to play a monk, you can really take in from this. So, I'm going to talk about the positioning of a lot of our skills. So we have the Impulse Drive, which can only be used from a target from behind. This doesn't mean we have to do this, wait for the animation to end, and then move. No. What you can do is activate the Impulse Drive as you are running behind the mob. As long as you activate it whilst you're in position, you can freely move out however you want. And you'll see that this is going to be successful because I'll get the combo from the disembowel. So watch this. Can you see that? I kept on moving through the back of the mob, and my disembowel was still activated. I didn't have to go behind the mob, wait for the animation to go off, and then move. As long as you are behind the mob, when you cast it, you'll still get the disembowel. And the same thing also applies to my heavy thrust. As you can see, I got it just by running through the side of it, from the side to the back, and I still got the heavy thrust buff. So this is a very important tip that you should always learn how to use. Why am I telling you this? Because there are many bosses in the game, like for example the last boss in Emperador Keep, like for example Hydra when you get your relic weapon, and a boss in the Binding Coil Bahamut, which I will not talk about, which uses back tail attacks, which means the second you are behind the mob, it will instantly use one of their back tails and you have to get out of it instantly. So by using this little trick, this movement trick, by activating the ability whilst you're on the move, this will avoid the chances of you getting hit by that back tail AOE, which is very, very important if you want to become a successful Dragoon or a monk. So now we are all the way in the area of Mordona. Why? Because I'm going to show you some demonstrations with our jumps. So this Gigas Shamana is a warrior. He can cast an ability called Overpower, just like any other warriors. And I'm going to show you something. Well, I'm going to prove a point to you about your normal jump, that you are not calculated until you fully land in your new spot. And then I'm going to show you some examples as to why you need to take real care when using your jumps. So we're now going to run up here and we're going to attack this Gigas Shamana. I'm just going to auto attack him, and we're going to use our elusive jump for this. And then we're going to wait until he uses AOE, and there we go. Did you see that? I was out of the area when he casted it, but I still got hit by the AOE. This further proves that in this game, your location is not calculated until you fully land on the ground. Now I'm going to show you something again, this time with a normal jump. So he needs to use another AOE this time. We're going to use Spine Shout for this. As you can see, I was in the air when he casted his Overpower, but I still got hit by it. This is because when you are in the air, when your jumps, you are still calculated to be in your original position. Just because you are now in the air doesn't mean you cannot avoid any ground AOEs, which really sucks as a Dragoon. But that doesn't mean you cannot avoid abilities with your elusive jump. So again, we're going to attack this Shramana, and we're going to wait until he uses an AOE, and if we are careful enough and we time it correctly, so I'm going to be running around here, blah blah blah, attacking him, and bam, we're out of the AOE. You have to really accurately time your elusive jumps and how you use it to make sure that when you land, the cast timer of the AOE hasn't fully activated. So in other words, you can actually use elusive jump to fully avoid attacks and to fully avoid AOE if you are skilled enough and you pay close enough attention to your opponent's cast time. So as you should know by now, your Spine Shatter Drive and your Dragonfire Dive directly jumps you to your opponent, and you can engage combat from here. So I can run up and quickly use one of my jumps and engage that Shramana. But I'm going to show you guys a quick little combo that you can use with Elusive Jump and Spine Shatter Drive or Dragonfire Dive to quickly evade and get back into battle. By evade, I mean evading in the AOE and getting back into battle again. Now, please be warned, your timing has to be pretty much perfect, and I wouldn't really recommend this if you're planning to use a lot of burst to burst down your opponent or your boss that you're fighting. So this is really situational, but I think it is a really cool trick that people should know about. So we're going to go into combat with this Shramana. Okay, so we're going to wait for him. Is he going to use Overpower? Should use it now. There we go, Overpower, Spine Shatter. As you can see, I completely avoided the AOE and I managed to get back into combat straight away. Now you may be wondering, what's the point? I could stun them. Well, the fact of the matter is there are quite a lot of bosses in this game where you cannot go and stun their moves. Such examples will be Garuda, Titan, some bosses in the Bahamut's Coil. So you will need to use Elusive Jump quite often if you're in a tight situation and you need to avoid an AOE. So I would recommend everybody to maybe set Elusive Jump as one of their hotkeys. On top of that, Elusive Jump can remove heavy and bind effects. So if you are in a boss fight, like let's say a Demon Wall, or you're fighting Chimera to get your relic weapon and you get heavied, which reduces your movement speed, you can use Elusive Jump and quickly avoid or get rid of the heavy effect or the bind effect, and then go straight into a Spine Shatter or Dragonfire dive and get back into battle. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if you have any comments, any suggestions, any improvements to what I've said, I'll just post it at the bottom in the description box. I would love to have a lovely discussion with other Dragoons in Elusive or Final Fantasy XIV, and I will make another video shortly discussing more rotations, more neat tricks that we can do with the Dragoon, and gearing up the Dragoon. So if you have like a really good tip that you would like to be used in one of my videos, post it in the comment section below. If I like the idea and I think it really works and it can be used in dungeons and raids, I'll make a video about it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.